Okay, hi everyone, welcome back to this video series on Introduction to Firewalls, Chapter 16, Microsoft's Firewall Internet Security and Acceleration Server. Microsoft Internet Security and Acceleration Server 2000, quite a mouthful, but the name is an apt description of what Microsoft's entry in the firewall market does. In this chapter, we explore what ISA Server can do for you and how it can perform its two functions, providing internet security and accelerating internet access by caching web content. Making internet access faster and more secure, Microsoft created a solution that addresses two problems that many organizations face when connecting their network to the internet, making the best possible use of network bandwidth to the internet and screening all network traffic to and from the internet to ensure that traffic is allowed by your security policies. In other words, ISA server caches web content in addition to being a firewall. Here's how ISA server performs these tasks. Accelerating internet access. No matter how much internet bandwidth you have, as more people in your company or organization use the internet for more purposes, everyone is bound to see a slowdown before too long because of increasing usage of your link to the internet. Your link to the outside world is becoming congested. Much of the network traffic of many organizations consists of employees viewing web pages that co-workers accessed just minutes or hours ago. Because of this duplication, ISA server, which screens all network traffic to and from the internet, keeps a copy of most web pages in a cache, and when the same web page is accessed again soon, ISA server retrieves the page from its cache rather than from the internet. The most noticeable effect is that the web browser receives the requested page faster and can display it with almost no delay. The other effect is that little or no network bandwidth to the internet is used when someone requests a web page that is already in the ISA's server's cache. Everyone benefits. Web surfers often see the requested web pages faster, and you save money because you don't have to buy more bandwidth to the internet. Securing internet access. ISA server can inspect both outgoing and incoming internet traffic and decide whether this traffic is allowed according to the rules that you defined. For example, if Fred tries to download a file from the internet, ISA server checks whether Fred is allowed to download files, whether Fred is allowed to do this during this time of the day, whether access to the specific web location is allowed, and whether files for this type can be downloaded. ISA server is very flexible when it comes to enforcing rules for internet access. Also, like every good firewall, ISA server allows inbound network traffic only when it is a part of the data transfer that was initiated from someone in your organization, such as a web page that a server returns after a user requested the page, or if you specifically allow the incoming traffic, such as allowing requests from people on the internet who access your public web server. How ISA works. How does ISA server do it? First, like any good firewall, ISA server can perform packet filtering and stateful inspection. Second, ISA server works as a proxy server. A proxy server intercepts internet requests, examines them, and then issues the request to the internet, making them look as if they originated from the proxy server. This means that no direct connection ever exists between an internal computer and an external computer. Especially a proxy server acts as an agent that sends IP traffic, receives IP traffic, and fetches web pages on a client's behalf. Take a look at two examples of how this process works. In the first example, a user's browser issues a request for a web page. Because the browser is aware of the presence of a proxy server, it doesn't request the web page directly. Instead, it contacts the proxy server and asks the proxy server to retrieve the web page. The proxy server then requests the web page from the web server and sends the results to the browser, just like a bulleter who performs the shopping for you and everyone in your household. The proxy server is the computer that issues all internet requests and appears as the initiator for all requests to the outside world. In the second example, a user downloads mail messages from the mail server on the internet inside the computer. The request is translated into a series of IP packets. Depending on your configuration, these IP packets are then intercepted by a piece of client software and sent to the proxy server, or the proxy server may intercept them en route without the client computer's knowledge. Again, the proxy server changes the outgoing information. In this case, it changes the header of each IP packet to disguise the packets so it looks as if the packets come from the proxy server. When return packets are received from the mail server on the internet, ISA server again changes the information in the packet header before sending the packets onto the client. Because of this manipulation of header information, both the mail program on the client computer and the mail server on the internet are unaware of the role that the proxy server plays. Depending on the type of network traffic involved, ISA server can request content as a proxy client for a client, or it can establish an IP connection on behalf of the client. In either case, the client computer and the server that it tries to contact never communicate directly with each other. Using a proxy server offers a number of benefits. All internet traffic passes through a single point where you can control it and apply the rules that enforce your internet acceptable use policy and your security policy. Unlike a packet filter firewall, a proxy server can examine entire communication sequences, such as the request and receiving of a web page, and is not limited to checking single IP packets. Because servers on the internet never see the actual IP address of the computers that establish a connection, a proxy server effectively hides your internal network structure. Furthermore, the proxy server can drop all network packets that are not valid before they ever reach the client. Your entire company or organization requires only a single IP address that is valid on the internet, which is the IP address of the proxy server. For your internal IP addresses, you can use addresses from the private addressing range defined in RFC 1918. Using private addresses completely ensures that nobody from the internet can initiate a direct connection with a computer on your network, and you won't have to pay your ISP to use a large number of IP addresses for internet access. ISA server performs the roles of a proxy server and a caching server rather well, but it can do even more. Here's a list of some of the other features that make it a very capable firewall. Dynamic packet filters. Whenever a client issues an internet request, ISA server duly opens the ports that are required for this connection, but only for the first time that the port needs to be open. When someone on the internet tries to connect to the ISA server computer using any port other than one of those that has been open for a limited time to accommodate a client request, ISA server doesn't respond in any way to the connection attempt. A curious hacker or malicious intruder gets no indication that the computer running ISA server is even running at all. Static packet filters. Clients don't initiate all connections, nor are all internal clients always involved in the network traffic that ISA server handles. For example, ISA server may route network traffic between the internet and your perimeter network, or DMZ, demilitarized zone. In order to accomplish such routing or other tasks, you have to configure ISA server with static packet filters. These static packet filters won't allow or deny traffic through your ISA server firewall based on the protocol used and the source and destination IP address and ports. Application filters. Packet filters determine what network traffic ISA server forwards based on the IT characteristics of each IP packet and protocol used, on the source and the destination IP address and ports. However, packet filters can't determine whether ISA server forwards network traffic based on patterns that span more than one IP packet. For example, to make a decision about whether to forward the packets that comprise an email message, ISA server must be able to assemble the incoming IP packets that comprise an email message, assembling the message, and then examine the contents of the message. In other words, ISA server can apply rules based on application layer protocols such as SMTP and HTTP. For ISA server to apply rules at the application level, it must have application filters that are designed with knowledge about the characteristics of the application layer protocol. ISA server contains several built-in application filters. For example, an SMTP filter for applying rules for incoming email. ISA server is particularly strong when it comes to examining HTTP traffic. Developers can also create more application filters in addition to the ones that are included with ISA server. Server publishing and web publishing. Sometimes you want external users to have access to servers that are located on your internal network. For example, you may have a public web server that you may want to make available to users on the internet, or your screened subnet may contain your company's public DNS server or mail server. Server publishing rules allow you to make these servers available to the internet. Web publishing gives you similar functionality for web servers. In addition, because ISA server can cache published web content, web publishing provides performance benefits for users who access your web server from the internet through the ISA server-based firewall. Monitoring and reporting. ISA server provides multiple levels of monitoring. You can choose to have ISA server log several types of information, including internet access by internal users, incoming network packets from the internet that ISA server blocks, or even every single network packet that ISA server processes. You can and should regularly review these logs and a few of the more readable reports that ISA server creates from the logs. Because the logs can be very detailed, they are a powerful tool for keeping track of all aspects of your organization's internet access. ISA server also includes tools that allow you to monitor ISA servers' operations on your company's internet traffic. You can even configure ISA server to contact you when a predefined condition, such as a security breach, has occurred. Support for remote access. Many companies allow remote access to their internal network by employees. These users may be working from home or traveling. Virtual private networks, or VPNs, have become increasingly popular for providing this access. A VPN is a secure connection that is accomplished over an insecure connection by using an encryption mechanism. In most cases, a user establishes a connection to the internet via an internet service provider. Then the user then establishes a secure connection to his or her company's remote access server over the internet. After this connection has been established, all further traffic between the user's computer and the company's internal network is encrypted. This connection is completely transparent to all applications that access the company's internal network from the remote computer. These applications access the internal servers as if the user's computer were directly connected to the internal network. Configuring a VPN often turns into a lot of work because the firewall and the VPN server need to be configured. ISA server simplifies this process by making it very easy to configure both the ISA server settings and the Windows 2000 RRAS routing and remote access service in one procedure. You can configure ISA server to allow VPN clients to connect to your network in as little as 3 mouse clicks after you have done your planning. More importantly, using ISA Server Wizard ensures that you don't accidentally end up with an insecure configuration. Extensibility. This may be the most impressive aspect of the ISA server. Anything that you wish ISA server did for you but Microsoft hasn't thought of can be acquired by using the ISA Server Desk software development kit. Programmers can use the SDK to extend the functionality of the ISA server. Anyone familiar with scripting language such as Microsoft Visual Basic can create scripts that automate common administrative tasks. With knowledge of the programming language such as C++, you can create an ISA server extension that handles network packets or streams of network packets according to the rules that are built into this extension. Third-party vendors have also developed a number of extensions that perform tasks such as virus checking or blocking user access to websites based on categories into which these websites fit. So I'm going to leave it here to see with this video. If you like listening, please consider like, sharing and subscribing. Thank you.